Greetings, YouTube. Fun fact, there are more monuments to the Confederates that lost the Civil War than there are to the Union soldiers that won the Civil War. So we may have won the battle, but we lost the war because the losers have written the narrative since their surrender. Now, recently there has been a big kerfuffle because 4 Confederate memorial statues were removed from New Orleans. And there are a whole lot of white people that are upset by this fact. And in Alabama, there was recently a law passed that said that no memorial or monument could be removed, nor street or institution renamed if it has existed for more than 40 years. So they've actually passed a law stating that you can't remove memorials to the Confederacy, nor can you rename institutions such as schools that are named after Confederate members, streets that are named after Confederate members. No, you can't do any of that because they would like to preserve the narrative that the Confederates were good guys, and they weren't. The Confederates went to war at the behest of plantation owners. They went to war specifically to preserve the entire narrative that humans should be owned and sold like livestock, specifically black humans. And if you think that that is not the narrative of the war, you are wrong. Period. That was the reason the South went to war, to preserve slavery. That's why. But now in the 21st century, and it's been far too long, people are thinking, maybe we should start getting these monuments removed because, they are continuing the narrative of terrorism and oppression on minorities. And they are. That's their purpose. Their purpose is to make sure that no one forgets the reason that the Confederacy existed. No one forgets that the quote-unquote lost cause is something that should be looked upon and grieved over. That somehow white people lost out when the Confederacy fell. Well, yes, some white people did lose out when the Confederacy fell. They could no longer own black people. But even the white people that didn't own black people seem to look back upon that era with nostalgia. And if you were looking back upon that era with nostalgia, with a positive view of it, you're also wrong. But I don't think we should just remove 4 Confederate statues in New Orleans. We should remove all Confederate memorials in America. All of them. We should rename every state, every school, every institution that was named after a Confederate. We should cleanse America of the Confederacy. We should make sure that not only do we win the battle, but we win the war. White supremacy is still the state of a union. That's still what we have in America. White supremacy rules. And there are far too many Americans that support white supremacy, as we can see in the November 2016 election. An election that was supported, endorsed, and helped to achieve its goals through the use of white supremacist narrative and by being supported by white supremacists. And these statues, these street names, these institutions that are named after Confederates need to be removed. If you'd like to put them in a museum, okay, put them in a museum. As long as they're put into a museum with the context of what they were and what they are. And we need to start erecting monuments and memorials for all the lynchings, for all the locations of where slaves were sold, for all the locations where they had mass graves, of all the locations that had riots that hunted down black people because white people felt they could. There have been entire black communities that were wiped off the map. We need memorials for those. We need memorials that represent the history that Americans don't want to face. And unless people like me endorse these policies, it isn't ever going to happen. Because the white supremacist narrative in America says that they can just dismiss the thoughts and opinions of black people. And we see it today actively in the political discussions of America, where we have an entity, Black Lives Matter, saying reality, admitting that black people have been oppressed and have been given horrible treatment in American history and in contemporary America. And then out of the woodwork comes, no, we have to say that all lives matter. That's bullshit. It has never been questioned that white people's lives matter. And we have never questioned that black lives didn't. But now we are. And there's a whole lot of white people that don't like that fact. Don't like the fact that they have to face the reality that they themselves are racists. And that they come from a long line of racists. Some of them who went so far as to pick up arms and declare treason against their own country to defend the right of plantation owners to buy and sell black people. So don't just tear down 4 Confederate monuments, folks. We need to tear them down all